G'day folks, it's Chris Gondek here, coming to you live from the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix 2023 in Melbourne, and I'm actually literally trackside with the Aston Martin Formula 1 team. And I have a very special guest here with me, Ian Penny. Ian, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi there, I'm Ian. I'm IT Trackside Engineer with Aston Martin, and I've been with the team for 7 years.
For 7 years, fantastic. Ian, as a trackside engineer, give us a bit of a rundown of your kind of day-to-day during a day like this in prep and then on race day.
So today we arrived at track at 8:30 this morning. Make sure everything's running okay in the garage. Make sure all systems are good, everything's healthy, and then we get ready for FP1. So
I'm guessing there's a lot of technology that you're working with and equipment, and NetApp being a sponsor of Aston Martin, we have some NetApp equipment here on site, right?
yeah, that's true. We've got 2 NetApp Flex pods in the garage. That gives us some resiliency for during the sessions, and we have a lot of VMs that run on there.
Okay, so virtual machines, yeah. And the NetApp, so these the all-flash FAS arrays?
Yeah, they're AMF1 I think they are.
So our top of the range, super fast. And I guess, fast cars need fast data. These are the fastest cars, so I'm guessing the fastest data is really important. Can you tell us a little bit about how the telemetry from the cars makes its way to the NetApps?
Yeah, so the telemetry comes back to the garage over RF frequency. It then comes through into the garage, processed by our data servers on the Flex pods. Yep. We store some data there ready for the engineers. They can access live, so they can see every bit of the car as they go around.
So real-time analytics coming from that fast storage here.
Yeah.
Must be important, right? Formula 1 is measured in milliseconds, so I'm guessing sub-millisecond performance from your storage is really important, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely vital. Without that, we could lose positions on the track, we could make the wrong call at the pit stop. So yeah, it's vital that we have that really quick data.
So this is some of the impacts of I guess, interruption to the data performance. As you just mentioned, could make a bad performance, a bad decision on track.
Yeah.
And lose, spots in the race, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, we could lose positions in the race, and if it was really bad, we'd have to stop the car.
Stop the car altogether, yeah. But I'm guessing there's also an element of safety here, right? There's information around the car and how it's performing. In some of the races I've watched, the teams will tell the driver, stop, pull over and just get out because something's seriously wrong. Would that be some of the same data that you're collecting here as well?
Yeah, so if we don't get that data, then we'd have to stop the car, but yeah, the data off the car is vital.
That's a really good point that you just mentioned there. If you don't get the data, then you've got to stop the car because you don't know what's going on and if the driver's compromised or something, right?
We don't know if the car is safe, therefore it's safe to stop the car.
And so, Formula 1 happens around the world at various different locations, different countries. Do you pack up this kit every 2 weeks, take it with you to the next location, unpack, rewire, restack? Yeah,
so at the end of the race on Sunday, we'll transfer all our data back to the UK.
Yep.
Then we'll start shipping everything down, load it up, put it on a plane, unpack it in the next country.
Awesome. And how do you ship your data back to the UK? Are you using any of the NetApp smarts? Like, are you snap mirroring that data back?
Yeah, we're trialling it at the moment in our current factory, but the plan is to go live with all our data snap mirrored when we go to our new facility.
That's brilliant. So that gives you not just all the telemetry data back to headquarters, but also kind of like a disaster recovery copy as well, right?
Yeah, not only the data, we have video feeds from the cars, from the sessions, all the reliability information.
And this is all on the NetApp AFF250s here.
Yeah, that's true.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about specific NetApp technology now. I was very lucky to have a bit of a garage tour and a pit tour, and noticed that you have some redundancy in place. You've got a couple of NetApp side by side, and they have some inherent redundancy built into themselves, but you've also kind of got them in a highly available configuration. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So yeah, because of how important the data is, it's a case of we can't just rely on one cluster, we need to have two.
Two clusters side by side.
Yeah, so they're independently powered, independently networked, and then they cross between each other.
Fantastic.
So if one fails, it'll switch over to the other one, and we can carry on as normal.
And one, instance of an AFF250 is enough to service how many video feeds, teams, telemetry? This box is doing everything on the day, right?
Yeah, so we have about 100 gig of data per race weekend.
100 gig of data per weekend?
Per car.
Per car, far out. And there's 2 cars, obviously.
2 cars. over the weekend we'll get about 200 gig of data, and the AFF will deal with all of that for us, as well as all the video recordings that we do. That's about 60 gigabytes per weekend.
And so I know things don't always go perfectly. Have you ever had a situation where something's gone wrong and you'd have to recover real quick?
So far, thankfully, no.
Oh, fantastic, awesome. And so what about from a data protection perspective? Are you leveraging any of the snapshot technology inherent within NetApps and things like that?
Yes, we've got storage VM disaster recovery switched on, so we've got that for our file shares.
SVMDR, fantastic, yep. A great feature that we're trying to create awareness around, so it's fantastic to see the AMF1 team using that. Yep.
Yes, we've got that for all our critical data, so.
Awesome, fantastic. Can you tell me of an example of how you've used data and the analysis of the data that you create that's directly resulted in an innovation or a positive outcome or a decision during a race or during the car's development?
So, as the car is running and we're looking at the data, it gives us the ability to make calls on when to stop the car, what tyres to use, how the car's performing, and how we should go from there.
Yep. And this is all kind of live on the track. The data that you send back to HQ, is that then further analysed for further, changes and development in the vehicle and things like that?
Yeah, so as the data goes back to the UK, between sessions we can have the simulator running, so they can try the data out there, see how it works, try a change, see what impact that has, and then we can try that in the next session.
Fantastic. So I guess you could literally say you're data driven as a Formula One team. Telemetry coming in from the cars. You've got all the information surrounding the environment, the weather, the tyres, data heading back to headquarters in further development of the car. And tell me a little bit about, the communication systems. If the conversations that are happening with each other and the telemetry over RF, does all of that get recorded as well onto the NetApp?
Yeah, so we record that through a machine, store it on the AFF. And then we can listen back to it, we can review it overnight, see what people are saying on the radio, make strategy calls based off what we're hearing, what we think they're saying.
Strategy calls off that. There's so much data being collected from so many different angles and streams, and it's super impressive to see that literally one all-flash FAS AFF 250 can handle all of that, and you've got another one on standby just in case anything happens, and you're kind of active on the day. Mate, thanks so much for speaking with us today. Good luck on the track. Aston Martin having a cracking season so far. We'd like to think that we have a little bit to do with that, with the tech behind the scenes. Ian, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to catching up after the race.
Great, thank you very much.